Good afternoon, Jason. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. This is my second symposium. So greatly enjoyed being in Notre Dame last year, and grateful to be in Utah. It's my first time in Utah. Never been here before. I'm excited to be here. I don't want to assume that you know too much about UT Knoxville. I know we all come from different types of institutions, different parts of the country. University of Tennessee in Knoxville is Tennessee's flagship land-grant university, flagship of the University of Tennessee system, where we have campuses all across the state of Tennessee, from Memphis all the way to Chattanooga up to Knoxville and all the way in between. Right now we have about 36,000 students total, with 28,000 around kind of in the undergrad realm. Growing online education, like I'm sure many of you are right now as well, but we have about 36,000 students all in all. We're going through a very exciting period at UT Knoxville right now. Our enrollment has absolutely skyrocketed in the past 5 years compared to the growth that we had been seeing. So we're seeing a 20% growth enrollment over the past 5 years, a huge jump in out-of-state students. I don't know if there's any other institutions in the South represented here, but we have so many undergraduate students coming to East Tennessee to have 4 seasons and SEC football and have the program of study that they want. We're seeing that a whole lot. So that's kind of new for us, but we're loving it. It's a great time. Expanding programs of study, new colleges being announced. We announced 3 new colleges just this year, where we spun off our own College of Music, have a College of Emerging and Collaborative Studies. The Baker School for Public Policy and Public Administration launched this last year. So there's a lot happening on our campus, and a lot of our work right now is revolving around this big message that we're a university on the rise. If you go watch our PSA from last fall, that was the whole big theme, university on the rise. So that's what we're trying to tell, big picture, through all of our work: photo, stills, graphic design, print media, social media, digital, whatever it is. Like, this is what we're trying to tell people. We're having record success, and there's never been a better time to be a volunteer. We're really blessed right now on campus. We have a lot of momentum, a lot of great things happening. I will say a lot of it's athletics based. I don't know if you recall that fall of 2022, we lost our goalpost to the Tennessee River after beating Alabama. We all know the front porch of the university is athletics. That's so true, especially in the SEC. We had a huge spike in out-of-state applications the night after we beat Alabama. Out-of-state applications spiked 30% over a 24-hour period. Okay, so we're loving that we're doing a little better at football right now. Love that baseball team just won a natty, and we're having a lot of success across the board. But basically, we've got a lot of changes happening on our campus. UT was kind of status quo for a long time. We have a great dynamic chancellor right now, great president, and they're pushing us towards new heights, which is great. But all these changes on our campus is changing what we're doing in our office. Now, Trish, in this photo sitting up here, I didn't tell her I'd put that in there. That's my bad. Sorry. So we have a few members of our team represented here. Many of you, most of you know Stephen Bridges, living legend back here. He's represented here. This is Ryan Whitener, another video producer on our team. Trish Forrester, who is another video producer on our team. So we have a few UT Knoxville folks here, and I'm sure everyone would love to meet you all. And I've probably not met most of you yet because I just arrived myself, but look forward to meeting you all later too. We all work for UT's centralized communications and marketing shop. So we are campus-wide projects. We handle the university's main social media accounts, executive communications, anything that's print, video, stills, design, digital, web, that's all out of our office. Just to kind of give you an idea of what our staffing situation is, we have 2 full-time photographers, and that was just 1 full-time photographer until, when did we hire Brevin? 6 months ago? So we now have 2 photographers, which is amazing. Stephen is quite literally one of the hardest working guys, if not the hardest working guy I know. So to get him a little help was big time. We do have 4 video producers that are kind of handling creative content. I have a few other team members, including a project manager, who help spur us along. We have a supervisor and a couple guys who handle our live studio and satellite uplinks and student productions and that type of thing. Like I mentioned, we've gone through a lot of changes. I'm sure a lot of you have seen some of these changes. Trish and I joined this department 3 years ago. We both moved over from athletics at the same time. And we could tell there was a shift in dynamic happening. Does anyone work in athletics right now or started in athletics? Yeah, I mean, we were going through a huge transition with that alone, and then we walked into an office that was going through some transitions as well. I believe our first fall at OCM, that's what we call our office currently, they had just transitioned to being fully funded, centrally funded. Before that, it was a mix of chargeback and increasing central funding, and before that it was fully chargeback. That's correct. So Ryan had been there for a few years before us, and it was a mix of taking on campus clients, and we have now made the full transition from being a service provider to a creative agency. That's kind of how I like to think of the work we do. That's been a big shift. Just to kind of paint a picture of what I've heard about our office kind of 5 years and previous to that is that it was siloed. The one photographer before Steven was the one photographer, kind of a grip and grin situation, not much creative output happening there. The video team was fully chargeback, who was taking on clients to pay the bills. And graphic design was in their own area, web was in their own area, kind of under the same umbrella, but represented a siloed office. And over the past 5 years, kind of leading up to where we are now, those walls have been broken down slowly and surely. And I think that we're in a really good place right now creatively, in the trust that we have with each other as a team, but also kind of where we've built equity in with our leadership all the way up to the chancellor. So our vice chancellor's in the chancellor's cabinet. Our chancellor believes in our work. That helps a whole heck of a lot, that she knows what we do. She knows our faces. She appreciates our work. But that has come with time and a lot of intentional efforts. Now, I know that a lot of offices are kind of going through this thing as well. And I heard this a lot last year. I've heard this in conversations I've had with members like since last symposium, that we're going through these transitional moments, and maybe in years past where photo and video didn't coexist, or if they did, it wasn't pretty, they're now having to create together. They're on the same set, they're covering the same things, or maybe that's the goal. We need to get to that point where we're shooting together. We're having, all of our assets are looking aligned in terms of brand and style. That's where hopefully we're heading. So today I'm going to just briefly talk about how we approach our work. And I don't mean this to be a time where I can individually address personality concerns in your office. I know we all have those. Like that's a whole thing on its own. But I am going to talk about how we approach our work, why it works for us, and I hope there's a couple practical things you can take away from this, if not also a couple philosophy or just approach things to how you handle workflow and creating together in your office. I've broken this down into a few things. I've not talked to this with our team at all, so if y'all agree or disagree, hop on in here. But I think one thing that works really well for us is that when we go out and we shoot, we plan, we scout, it's brand first for us. We're lucky we don't have much ego on our team, I don't think. And we know when we go out and shoot, it's for the brand. It's for the university, it's to elevate the brand. No one on our team from a mindset is concerned about photo having the best shot or video having the best shot. It's all about us coming together to make the best possible product. Now I think that comes from a few different places. We work well together, and that's a blessing that it happened like that. Our bosses have built good teams. That helps. But our leadership sets us up really, really well in this space because we know who we are. In our office of about 50 some odd people, all the way from web to our events folks to video and photo, we know who the University of Tennessee is. We know our voice, we know our personality, we know how we talk about ourselves, we know what we do, we know what we don't do. We know the strengths that we have. We acknowledge our weaknesses. We're producing our halftime spot right now, and we have talked a lot about our weaknesses as a university because everybody wants to use their halftime spot to flex, right? Well, there's some areas that University of Tennessee can't flex in right now, but we're working on that, right? But we know who we are. This is just a screenshot from some of our brand messaging that lives on our brand website. If your institution or if your office hasn't worked on some consolidated brand resources, I would encourage you to go check ours out. We've moved a lot of them off of the public-facing web, and we've moved them kind of as internal resources, but there's still some really good information on there and some good inspiration. That URL is brand.utk.edu if you want to go check that out. This is not my strong suit. Like I think I'm a visual person, so our marketing folks have spent so much intentional time over years now to build out, here's how we talk about ourselves. Here are our pillars of messaging. This is the third one, which is really kind of about our volunteer brand, like what it means to be a volunteer. I think we're lucky that we have an actionable mascot. I love our brand because being a volunteer means something. It's actionable. There's big V volunteer and there's little v volunteer, and we like to be big V volunteer. But this helps define our work. These words help shape how we approach our visuals, what we're putting in those visuals, how we present our students and faculty and staff. So that's one area that helps a lot. If you are a leader in this room, if you're a manager or you have influence with the manager of your office or with your vice chancellor, vice president, whatever it may be, and you don't have something like this, I would encourage you to help out your creatives and get a consolidated brand resource. Figure out how you talk about yourself. If you don't know how you talk about yourself, how are you going to tell others who you are? So this really helps set up your creatives for success. Something I didn't include in here that we do yearly now is an integrated marketing plan. And to me, that sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo corporate stuff. To be honest with you, I'd never say it to my boss, so we can't put this on the public facing web. But that's not really my thing, but I understand that it sets some guardrails of the work that we do. We're not shooting fish in a barrel. At the very start of the academic year, our leaders have said, we really need to stress these things. We really need to convert this group of people that is not yet convinced that the University of Tennessee is changing their lives. We're going to target them. That affects our work, who our audiences are, what we tell them about us, like how do we kind of push those people forward. So we call those the fairs in our state. We do statewide research to find out like who's not quite yet convinced of who thinks the University of Tennessee is the best thing ever. Try to convert those people, prospective students, obviously, alumni. These words and those kind of brand identity things help define your audiences, and then that shows up in your work. This is another screenshot from that page, and we like to say that all of our work hopefully passes the squint test, where if you stand at the back of that room and you're kind of squinting, you know this is the University of Tennessee. At least that's what we hope. And at least that's what we hope for folks who are prospective students who are interested in our school, but for those who are in our community too. We want them to see our orange, see our work, see the Tennessee Volunteers, and know exactly what that means. If we do not define what it means to be the University of Tennessee, to be the Tennessee Volunteers, then someone else is going to fill that in. So it's important that we define that first and put that out into our work. This is something that you can also see at brand.utk.edu. Our web folks did a great job of putting this together, and there's some videos on there that we've cut together, things like that. Again, this is public facing, so feel free to check that out. I think the other thing that we do that's a great benefit to our team is that we plan together. So just talking about getting Stephen and us on the same set is it's not too often that we go out and shoot something and we're going out blind. I mean, we have usually talked about it multiple times and we've scouted at least once. And I mean, there are times where we're really busy and Stephen goes and scouts it and we have Dropbox folders that look like this. I'm sure you all do too. And there's times where Steven sits in and operates a scanning electron microscope, which should be concerning for everybody. But we go out and plan together. We talk through it together before we get there. I think if you leave a lot of unknowns hanging before you get to set, and all of a sudden you're tired and sweaty, and the camera's not working, and Isaac forgot the card back in the shop, and the batteries are dead. Well, you can overcome some of those things that pop up in production if you have a good plan. It makes our lives a whole lot easier when we're on location, working together, and especially we tend to work in tight, what feels like at least really tight windows of time. So like this scout where we did footage at a nursing simulation lab, we shot all day long, but we basically shot in 2-hour windows where we had 4 different sets. We had to light it. We did a whole lot of planning for that shoot. We would not have gotten all the assets we needed that day if we hadn't talked it through. If we hadn't have been a little bit on the same page of what does this have to look like when it all comes together. Okay, I'll get those dummies off the screen because they're terrifying. I think the other thing that we do really well is that we make room for each other. This is just kind of a courtesy thing, and I'm notorious for yelling out that we've wrapped before Steven's actually taken any photos. But other than when I do that, we do a pretty good job of making room for one another. We are out shooting together all the time, and Steven's really good that he will shoot with our continuous light a lot. So I don't know how photographers feel about that, but as video folks, it really makes a heck of a lot of difference on time when Steven can just pop in, but we've talked about the lighting together. But in that planning, we are taking time to say, we need these shots and Steven needs these shots. And I wish I would have pulled some examples. You'll see a clip from that nursing shoot in here, Sans Dummies. And it's this one right here. We needed a whole variety of assets for this. We are building a brand new nursing building on campus right now, which is great. They're doing wall graphics right now. So Steven needed photos that fit the oddest aspect ratio you've ever seen in your life, right? And we just needed general B-roll. We were shooting for our commercial this day. Those are things that you can't just walk on the set, not talk about it, not have a lighting plan, and then hope that everybody comes out with everything that they need. When we are on, when we're cameras rolling for us, Steven is the first person to step up and help move a light or come and look at the monitor and say, hey, have you thought about this? Okay, when it's our turn to flip and Steven needs to take photos, we're the first to pop in and start moving our lights around, doing different modifiers, or if he needs strobes, to move the strobes in, move the constant lights out. That's all part of that planning process, but we have to make room for each other. We've never once had a pissing contest on set because that's not who we are, but if you experience that, and I have certainly experienced that, especially when I worked in athletics, which, whole different animal on egos and attitudes there, I'm sure many of us know. Like, you can't control the other person if it's not going well, but you can control how you're going to approach that moment on set and how you're creating. So these are just a few peeks into larger shoots that we've done this last year. And if you have any questions about that, would be happy to talk about it afterwards too. The other thing that we do, and this is so aligned with what we just heard over during lunch, is to build on success. Like I mentioned, like UT was, from my perspective, in kind of a status quo situation for a long time. And now things are starting to change, and we're moving quicker, and the work comes quicker, and we're taking on bigger projects. But that has been rewarding to us as creatives. In the 3 years that I have been on the academic side at UT, I've noticed a huge growth in what we are being equipped to do and what we're being trusted with. So all this doesn't happen overnight. I think it's such a good message to prove your worth. Like, show your bosses what you can do and do whatever it takes to do that. I'm a big fan of that. Do what you got to do, and every time you have success, build upon it. Use that as leverage to elevate your work, your team's work, and then eventually that elevates the university as well. I want to show you just a couple examples of things where it's taken all of us. By that I mean it's taken our video team, it's taken Steven and Brevin, our photographers, it's taken graphic designers who at times will act as art directors for us to make sure that while we're getting things dialed in lighting-wise, that we've not accidentally included like a University of Kentucky sweatshirt in the background. I believe that's happened more than a few times to us. So I'm going to show you just a few examples of how this works in action and kind of what the end result of that hopefully is. This is from every fall we do a campaign. It's called It Takes a Volunteer. It's basically football advertising. So we kind of revolve it around student athlete stories, program it into the football season, and we, as the university, we buy ad space on like coaches' television shows and in venue at Neyland Stadium. It includes radio spots, and we do a digital rollout. And there's print aspect to this as well. Before I get into that, I'll show you the video. But basically, this is a project that is cross-team in our office that requires a lot of different deliverables. This is a video deliverable example of that.
My name is Lori Fingal. I'm a right side hitter for Tennessee Volleyball and a graduate student studying public health. As a member of an athletic family, I was always on the move, constantly active. My childhood sparked a passion for personal wellness, which has carried over into my athletic and academic careers. I chose to study public health at UT because I've seen firsthand how mindful behaviors can set you up for success in life. That's also why I volunteered for the past 3 years at Monza Elementary School, joining in their activities and modeling healthy behaviors. I hope to inspire a new generation of kids to live active lives. It takes passion to inspire. It takes a volunteer.
Okay, so you kind of get the idea. It's a student-athlete story, and they're really good on the court, on the field, but they're also killing it in the community, or they're killing it in the classroom. This is kind of presented in our office as like a video campaign. I mean, that's definitely the centerpiece because it plays in front of 101,000 people in the stadium. You hear it on Vol Network radio, all those things, but there's a lot more to it than just what we're doing on the video side of things. For example, this story quickly turned into an article in our magazine that's produced at our office that goes out to all 500,000 Tennessee alumni that live in the United States, whatever the number is right now. Steven and our team shot this together, planned it together, had an art director with us together. That helped align visually all these assets. We went into this not knowing that it would even end up in the magazine. We knew there'd be some print elements to it, but this is a story that aired in the stadium. Morgan went off to have a stellar season. Our volleyball team had one of their best seasons ever this year, which was great. They were getting a lot of television coverage. So we put it in the magazine where we have these great photographs that were shot, same lighting conditions, same day, same kids, same set, same art direction. And it visually aligns with what's in the video, with what's in the magazine. We also do, this is from a different story, but we also do these little print pieces that go up in all the suites at Neyland Stadium. So the idea is you see this video on the Jumbotron, and then when you go, get your pretzel or whatever, you see that story there, maybe you read a little blurb, maybe you couldn't hear the video, but maybe you get the story through the little table tent that's presented in front of you. Again, a graphic design element, but something that has to have photos. Again, shot on the same day, shot with the same art direction, really completed with teamwork through and through. This doesn't work if the vibe and the teamwork on set is not aligned, right? Once you iron out those kind of workflow issues on set, and maybe it's workflow, maybe it's gear, maybe it's personality, whatever that is in your office, in your institution, all of a sudden you start getting campaigns that are visually aligned from start to finish, and that look so much better, that are so much more effective than if everybody was off doing their own thing. Okay. So the way I see it, this starts at the top. Our Vice Chancellor said, we need to focus on these things. We need to convert these fans. Or we're going to do a story about student athletes, front porch of the university, and here's how they're changing their community, here's how they're changing the world through the work they do off the court. That's kind of our thought process. Another huge project that we've not really had anything to do with, but we've completely redone our our entire web development system at the University of Tennessee. So this is kind of a scroll through our homepage. Before, if you went to utk.edu, you got kind of a boring university website with some information, and if you dug deep enough, you probably could find a apply now button or whatever. You could definitely find a link to your email and to your bursar account to pay your bill. But what it didn't do a good job of is selling the university. So our digital team, again, kind of under the push of leadership, said, we got to redo this thing. This is, if you go to check out UT after you've beaten Alabama for the first time in 15 years, this is the first thing you're going to see. This has to be a marketing piece more than just an informational piece or something that gets you to your Canvas account if you're a student. So this turned into a huge marketing piece for us. It doesn't work if the assets aren't aligned. This is absolutely full of photographs that Stephen has taken over the years, and our digital team did a great job on the design. But as you go through the experience of scrolling through our homepage, you start to hit videos. Well, guess what? The videos look like the photos. There's so much brand alignment there in the words and the images and these embedded videos that go through, and it creates a cohesive experience. I don't have the numbers. I should have looked this up before coming down here, but the traffic, the follow-through traffic from our homepage has increased by a very large percentage because we think it's bringing prospective students in, especially guiding them through a process. And you can see the very first clickable link right there in the middle of the page is request more info, right? We are doing so many more conversions to getting high school juniors, whoever it may be, to fill out an application to come to UT. That's made a huge, huge impact on our enrollment management division. Our team plays a role in that. You play a role in how students perceive your university as soon as they hit utk.edu or uk.edu or texas.edu, whatever it may be. This was a chance for us to flex our muscle. Now, this has a lot of data behind it. So we can go back to our bosses, or our bosses come to us, honestly, probably more the other way. We don't deal with the data, and say, look at what this has done. It's so much proof in the pudding of our work that this goes to the chancellor's cabinet, this goes to all the deans, all the department heads, and they are so sold on the work that the Office of Communications and Marketing is doing that it allows us to go out and be more creative. Okay, so here's an example of that. Here's a page on the website that's selling Knoxville. Well, this is a video that we have embedded on that same page that should hopefully sell you on Knoxville.
The energy here is electric.
I can go on and on about how much I love UT. My friends get annoyed at me at how much I talk about UT, whether it's sports, whether it's academics, whether it's all the friends that I've met here. The culture here is unmatched.
Game days as a whole are my favorite. I love the ball walk and then when the players run through the tee at the beginning of every home game. Just sends chills down my spine every time.
Tennessee football.
Okay, so you get the idea. Total brand alignment throughout the whole hopefully immersive experience that you're having on our website. Okay, so we do all this work, and over the years, the data has backed up our work. We're seeing better conversions on the website. We're seeing better metrics on social media. We're seeing more response from our halftime spot that airs on television. Well, all that is great, but because we built up what I believe just so much trust with the leadership, we're able to take some risks now, or to push the envelope a little bit. I don't know who in here has a hand in their university's halftime spot, if you have one, or your television commercial, your PSA. Okay, so to us as video people, like, this is our Super Bowl, right? I mean, we're at an SEC school. If football has good time slots on television, then we estimate that this fall we'll probably get 10 to 15 million eyeballs on this. So this thing is important. We want to put a lot of effort into it. Over the past few years, I don't know, 6-7 years ago and on, our office started to lose control of the PSA. I don't know what all went into that. I wasn't there. Not my place to say, really, but at any rate, it started getting farmed out. And over the past few years, we've kind of had the sentiment of, like, we want to do this. We know we have the talent. We know we have the capability. We don't want someone else playing in the Super Bowl for us. I want to go out there, put the pads on, and compete, to give you a sports analogy. I'm not very athletic, so that probably doesn't translate well, but over time, we've kind of chipped away at that a little bit. Much credit to a guy, producer in our office, Nick Chafin, who's done a lot of the legwork in fighting that fight. And this fall, we've finally been able to bring it almost all in-house. There's a little bit of stuff that we are farming out still, but that's because we want to, not because we're being told to, which is a nice position to be in. It would not have been possible without all the legwork that went into building a great team, a great creative environment, to investing in our own skills, to investing in equipment, and building that trust with our boss, with Associate Vice Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor, all the way up to our Chancellor at the top. So this is a really exciting time for us. We're working on this right now. These are a couple stills from the proofs that we're working on. Ryan have done these layouts, and we're going for like this split screen thing this fall. So I thought this was appropriate. This actually got cut, funny enough, but we had a line in there about taking risks. I thought, man, that's what we're able to do now. Just a little bit more, just because we put a little bit more, we put so much effort into having a great team, into having great work. We've been able to leverage that to go do the work that really we want to do. And that's a position of privilege, and we love it. But I hope that no matter your situation in your office right now, you can take a few of these things and take your mindset on set to be positive, to be not about the other guy or about self, but about your institution, about your brand, and turn around and leverage that and make your team better, make your life better, make your job more fun, whatever that may be, and to go create what fulfills you in your office. That's all I have for that. This is my info up here, email, and that's my cell. Please reach out to me anytime, any questions you might have. Happy to talk. I'm sure our folks will be happy to talk about anything too. And I appreciate your time. I could take any questions or comments or concerns.
Hey, so we've got a similar sized team as yours, and we just got a project manager and we're really unsure sort of how to integrate. I mean, we do a lot of the same types of things like joint photo video shoots for bigger shoots. But I'm curious how you kind of integrate and leverage a project manager and the types of things you guys do. Like, what does that person do?
Our project manager has changed our lives. Okay. Now, I've never worked there without Beth, our project manager. But I mean, Ryan can attest that like it's night and day when you have a project manager. Our project manager was a producer for Scripps Networks for 20 years. So she's a television pro, which helps a ton. She understands production. She, in a lot of ways, to just answer your question, in a lot of ways, Beth is our firewall. So we're essentially funded now. So we say no to many things, which is nice. And we focus on the marketing stuff that we need to do for the university as a whole. So she's often the filter that goes through. Our boss is too, but she's often the one in those meetings who's hearing from our research team or from our news team or from social saying, hey, we have these ideas. What's the availability? What kind of resources could we put towards this? That goes the other way too. Sometimes if I have something I want to do, I'll pitch Beth on it, or I'll pitch Beth and the social media manager at the same time, whatever it may be. So she's very much a firewall for us. She's a filter, a conduit. She's our communication. I say some people probably wouldn't like this, but like when we have a deliverable done, I send it to Beth, and Beth sends it out to the 18 people that need to mess with it. And I like that because when they are done messing with it, I have one sheet of feedback, and I know what I need to do. So she's really good. She's also, because she is a seasoned production person, she like knows what's BS and like what's not a good decision for the video. So that helps a ton. But I think that's probably her biggest thing. And logistics. She's looking at our calendars, seeing like, 3 of us are at UPAA this week, so we're not shooting anything, that type of thing. We just had a major project come up out of nowhere a couple weeks ago that literally stalled our operations for 2 whole weeks in the middle of making a commercial, and Beth did everything. Logistics, that whole deal. So yeah, I'll echo what we heard at lunch. If you don't have a project manager, try to get one. It's big time.
So when you guys are doing a big shoot together, photo, videos all in the same place, what kind of documentation are you guys doing? Are you like saying, oh, from this time to this time video shooting, and then we're going to hand it over to photo, or are you guys kind of like weaving in and out? Like, how do you guys make those decisions ahead of time when you are planning?
Probably a little more weaving. We do make a timeline for sure, especially like that nursing shoot I mentioned. We had tight windows we had to work in. For us, I think we're a little bit more concerned about what we need to walk away with. So if like we need super vertical photographs for a facilities installation, like we need to note that. If we're shooting for the commercial and we need 1 shot versus we're doing just gathering B-roll for general usage and we need 10 shots, noting that and kind of probably design a timeline around that. We're pretty loose on set in terms of that, so it's like, Steven, you want to go or you want us to go type of thing in the moment. Is that fair?
So does that mean you're not shooting concurrently? And I ask that because it's my biggest pain point with my
I don't think we do often.
I'm in like the same room with video guys who are like doing their thing while I'm just trying to get my shots.
We don't generally do that.
Okay.
Anything is me shooting over their shoulders. And I'm trying to get just out of the way of the slide so that I can get it. But
yeah, we try to kind of tag out. Pretty much, yeah, just a little relay. Yeah, I mean, there are probably times where, I think about some of our It Takes a Volunteer shoots with student athletes and we have like 10 minutes. Then it's like, okay, well, we got to do this. But if we have the choice, we generally don't.
Great.
Yeah, take that back to them.
Yes, I am.
Your website is gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. I'm curious, have you had any pushback from web design about bandwidth requirements in terms of adding video to pages?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know nothing about web design, and they don't ask us either. So that leads me to believe that they just make it work. I don't know. That's a great question. I will say this: like if we're embedding like a kind of feature video, that links back to our YouTube channel because we want to drive traffic there. But some of those like in the page elements in the web design system itself, I have no clue. That is I'm interested to know myself.
You guys don't resize at all for whichever platform you're sending to?
Well, for web, no. I mean, there are times where they'll say, can you send this in a certain size? But they generally have the ability to do it themselves. We would if they needed it, of course. We're generally, we just talking about platforming in general, we don't really resize a whole lot. We do vertical 60x9. We're usually mastering everything, and I don't know, I still master everything in 1080p for the most part. We do some 4K projects, but we're pretty much mastering in 1080.
So you had said, like, you know, when you're on set, and sometimes, like, and I'm more on the video side, that like the photographers might be more willing to just use like the lighting setup the video team had already set up. But I think sometimes we've run into instances where like our photography team is like, yeah, it's good for what you're using it for, but like it's not like enough for what I would like it to be for like a photo. And so then we end up having that battle of like having to do 2 setups in the same area. And I think that's kind of one of the challenges we've faced. Otherwise, then I feel like our photo team isn't usually happy with what their results end up being, because they're like, well, we just had to go off of what the video light was, and it wasn't really what we were hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sticky wicket.
Yeah.
Like, one thing, we have bright lights. I think that probably helps you.
Yeah,
You
no,
might.
we do too. I mean, we have like, you know, 600D, like,
Okay.
yeah, aperture. So I'm always like, I think it's enough light for you. No.
Yeah, maybe you, because I don't know why you're okay with it. You're just okay with it.
You gotta do a really good job, that helps. I will say, when I'm shooting with them, when continuous light works for stills, it works great. When it's not working, it's horrible. Their cameras have like 8,000 stops of what's it called? Dynamic range, when we got like 5. So they can pull stuff out and do more stuff than we can. So I will pack my lights and bring them just in case. And I will sort of, with all the scouting, I know that beforehand. And occasionally I'll have to bring my stuff out. But we all, again, from the pre-scout, we know that. Like I've gotten to where I try to do their stuff, and I'm almost forgetting how to light because I've been using them so much.
And you saying that, there are definitely times where we're shooting into a blown out sky knowing we can recover something, and Steven's like, yeah, this ain't happening. You know, and then we adjust.
I would say probably a lot comes from that planning ahead of time, knowing that the visuals will match, so that knowing which light sets we're going to match for both those occasions. We have time for one more question.
Uh-oh, Jason, you get to decide.
You talked a little bit about still hiring things out, like for outside contractors. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
What kind of things are you doing that way, and why?
So there's so much emphasis on our campus right now on research, especially like, you know, a lot of ours, Oak Ridge National Lab's right next door, and so we have a lot of advanced manufacturing stuff going on and national laboratory things. I don't know the terminology. We go and shoot it though. And there has been such a push that we physically cannot handle the amount of it. So like now instead of hiring a firm to work on the PSA, we're hiring a firm to go shoot some labs for us. And we're gonna work on the PSA. That's one example.
Yeah, like the challenge I'm facing is that I've asked and received a lot of extra resources from our administration to do things on the level that I want to do them on. But at the same time, I'm asking for additional room in my budget to hire contractors to come in. And to them, I think it may appear as though like I'm asking for and getting what I want, but I'm still not able to do. I mean, how do you like manage that? Like, how do you show them that you still need sometimes just like extra guns?
Well, I mean, that's a case where like our project manager and our boss have our backs and know like, if we don't have the availability, we're not doing it. And I know not everybody's in that position. I know we're incredibly like lucky to have that. So that's kind of a leadership thing for us, where it's like, if it comes down from our research team that we absolutely have to have a video because AT&T is doing this new lab, and we have 16 labs to shoot by next week. You know, right now, it ain't happening. We're on vacation, we're at a conference, we're making a commercial. That has to take priority. So I think our office does a good job of having those priorities, like, you know, this thing is gonna be up there. Now we don't always have good priorities. We just spent 2 weeks making videos that cost a whole lot of money that was shown to a group of 200 people last night. You know what I mean? Like, we're not perfect in that. But in general, we're able to have a little bit of protection from those above us. And then they call the contractor and say, hey, but we need you to shoot these 16 labs if you can do it.
You guys talked about using a timeline. Do you use other documents like a shot list or a storyboarding or script, something like that?
Yeah, if we know we're looking for certain things, we'll do a shot list. We will often reference those photos we take in during a scout and plug them into a shot list. Nick, our executive producer, is great about doing that and keeping us like on track of we need this shot. We talked about it in this space with this framing. A lot of times we are getting similar or the same shot for a different medium. So yeah, we definitely discussed that. And then there are times where we need our own thing. And we do kind of account for that in that planning process. And that does make the day so much smoother.
Well, thank you.